Hello, friends and colleagues. Welcome back to the Think Catalyst podcast. My name is Ricardo Ferraris, and I'm here with my business partner, Vivek Kuchibotla, for another interesting episode of the world about advertising, media, and communications. Vivek, how are you this morning?
I'm good. The snow has melted in Chicago, so life is good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Everyone loves my weather report, so I got to give them.
We look forward to seeing you in Mexico soon, though.
I look forward to getting out of the cold very
Weather,
soon.
weather is nice. Weather is nice. So this is our podcast number 20 since we started doing podcasts. And we thank our viewers and our listeners on YouTube and on Spotify. We're now on X as well. I've started posting them on X as well. So we have a broader reach of what we talk about. This is podcast number 20. You want to give us a preview of what we're going to talk about today, Vivek?
Yeah, this is a controversial issue which is very topical. Everyone talks about it. And we're going to talk. Our assertion in this podcast is that you cannot consistently get great work from an agency by paying them as little as possible. And it's very topical because over the last 20 years, we have seen agency fees come down and down and down, and procurement negotiate more and more strongly to bring fees down. And it's actually a delusion to think that advertisers are not doing themselves harm by squeezing agencies. So
Sure.
that's the subject today.
In my 36, 7 years running agencies, I became very aware and understood how the business model really, really works. And it all comes down to the fact that the agency is a service business, and the majority of the cost associated with that service business is people. So if you're not paying your agency properly, you're probably not getting the right talent, the right mix of people. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail and discuss the background and the importance, and not necessarily paying more, but paying fair. So we'll go from there.
I think the important thing is to make it clear that the thought that you can get great work from an agency by paying less is a dangerous delusion. It doesn't. The laws of business in pretty much any category will tell you that you can't do this. But we're going to talk about specific reasons why it just doesn't work.
Well, so any bad idea is that is then put on a media plan that costs gazillions and millions of dollars. Won't go anywhere. It's wasted money. Let's go into the points, because I think people want to understand these issues a little bit more deeply. And you and I obviously have the perspective, and not only have we seen it while working at agencies, but we see it also as consultants. Vivek and I consult advertisers as well as agencies about how to best and properly develop a compensation model that works for everyone, and delivers better ideas, better relationships, better business results. So we'll go into the details right now. Let's start with point number one. I'll start it off, and then you can make some comments. But as I was mentioning earlier, the majority of the cost of an agency is people, because it's a service business. And so in that sense, talent and experience is valuable, and it commands a premium. And it means that if you are paying your agency properly and demand that you have the better talent, you'll probably get it. Or you'll have a strong argument for getting the best team and a team dedicated to you. Whereas if you're not paying them properly, well, the converse happens. Vivek?
Yeah, the opposite happens exactly. It always does. And I think again, in all walks of life, talent and experience command a premium. So, if you're looking for a star center forward for Real Madrid, you have a choice between Cristiano Ronaldo or me. Cristiano Ronaldo will charge 150 times what I charge, and he'll do 1,000 times better than I will because he's got the talent and he's got the experience. It's unrealistic. It's delusional to expect that. It's not like that in the agency business.
If I were offered to play in the Bernabeu for 10 minutes, I would do it for free anyways. But
There you go.
yes, correct. I mean, why did top players command premium pricing? And the same thing with talent. And I don't think it's about, always going with the star, but it's about going with good people, and good people have a reputation. They're known in the market. And if they go to an agency, you're going to be working with those people. So, and
You
you'll
know,
pay for it too.
what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So this law applies in the world of marketing as well.
Mhm.
The superstar marketing director will be paid and will deserve to be paid more than your run-of-the-mill, um, just doing a 9 to 5 job marketing director.
Right.
That's the same everywhere.
Point number 2.
Okay. So if you pay as little as possible to your agency, you're putting heaps of financial pressure on them. And since their product is ideas or solutions, what they will strive to do is settle for the first solution and present it to you.
Right.
Um, and in the world of creativity, which is a sort of hit and miss world, or in the world of strategy, where you don't always arrive at the best solution the first time around, forcing your agency to settle on the best solution is short-sighted, and it will affect your business. Do you have any?
My experience has been that when fees are low, usually agencies will not put just the best talent on it, but they will also find the fastest way to get to a solution. And frankly, creativity doesn't work that way. Creativity works. A good idea may come up in 5 minutes, but you don't know in the next 2 or 3 weeks when that 5 minutes will come up. And it needs to evolve and develop, and just like a fine wine, it takes time to mature and become better. So my experience is that when profit pressures of that sort, because the fees are low, happen, you'll get bad talent. You'll not get the best talent, and you'll also sacrifice the time dedicated to this.
In the olden days, back when I used to work at Leo Burnett, there used to be a thing called the Creative Review Committee, and important projects that came into the agency were basically assigned to the creative team that worked on the business, but also 3 or 4 other creative teams that were
Wonderful.
available.
Sure.
And it was basically a shootout. Do your best, and then all of that work from all of those teams was presented in a committee, the Creative Review Committee, and then the best work was presented to the client. Wonderful practice, but you got to understand the amount of resources that are being spent by the agency to go through a bunch of different alternatives before presenting the work.
Absolutely.
If you don't pay an agency properly, you'll never get any of that. None of that will happen. They'll just it'll turn into a sausage factory where they'll just churn out the work as quickly as
I
possible, and that's
remember
not good.
I remember we did that at Gray Advertising, and it worked very well. And it was interesting because you didn't get just one good idea. You had 2 or 3 really good ideas. And so the discussion with a client was really about choosing which ones are the good ideas. And the client was just there loving it because he knew that the agency had put, everything into it. So, and that requires time, and it requires talent, and it requires teams to come together to work together. So, good stuff. So, interesting point there about paying as little as possible. But that takes us and bridges us to point number 3, Vivek. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have great anecdotes and stories to tell about this because you probably spent 20 years of your professional life in this situation. Um, the third reason that we want to talk about is that managers who are under profit pressure will focus on their business and hitting their numbers more than they will focus on your business and helping you build your business. And again, sometimes we forget that agencies are businesses as well, and they need to make a profit. And the managers, the people who run agencies, um, are held to account for the profit. So take it away. Tell us about your life as a managing director.
I had a boss not so long ago who would end his um, business conversations and projections with the words "no profit, no fun," and that wasn't just a suggestion. It was dictated, and you survive by making a profit. And agencies are supposed to make a profit, just like any other business. But when you are crunched in your fees and your compensation, you find ways to get to that profit number that not necessarily help the relationship of your current clients. So you are forced to cut service levels to hit your profit numbers, reduce uh, the amount of resource that you put on the business and the amount of hours. You're also focused on doing other things to get to your revenue and profit level, which is go after more new business. So you're not dedicating the time to the client who's paying you. You're dedicating time to prospecting future clients that will help you get to that number. So there's a whole vicious cycle and negative effect that happens that is hidden. It's not spoken about, but is there. And when a client is not happy with an idea, with a piece of work and so forth, it starts to rise to the top, and it becomes an issue.
Agencies never interact with their clients on a I am a business and you're a business and let's talk business level. And if they did, it would become so much easier for advertisers to understand that agencies are in business and have a right to make a profit. And not only do they have a right to make a profit, if they don't make a profit, it's going to affect the advertiser.
Sure.
It seems obvious, but since it's never talked about, it just it's always there. It's always affecting things. That's a pity. Um, let's move on to the fourth point. Everyone knows, obviously, that the business has changed a lot over the last 2 decades. New technologies, new tools, new disciplines, new platforms, a lot of different things. And an agency has to pay licenses, do training, pay fees to keep abreast of all of these changes. And all of this costs money. So again, if you're not paying an agency properly, if you're paying them less than you should, they're going to cut back on all of these tools and all of these technologies to your detriment.
Right. To the detriment of getting a better idea and coming up with better
Of
business
course,
solutions.
of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing, but that's something that's not discussed, Vivek, and it should be discussed. And I would encourage agencies to bring it up and have a frank conversations with their clients, because these tools, these new technologies, are often an important help to driving to better ideas, driving to better solutions, etc. Notwithstanding the fact that you still need the right talent to manage them. Okay. Um, and you can have all the best tools in the world, and if you don't have the right talent, they won't, they will go to bad use. But that combination is going to be super important, and you need to bring it up, whether it's now working with AI tools or data and analytics or further insight development. There's a lot of reports right now that agencies buy to further fuel the whole creative process and the whole media process with insights, etc. Those cost money. They usually are 7-8% of the total revenues of
There you go.
agencies, just to give you an idea, sometimes higher. But so factor that into your compensation and discuss it openly. The cost of my labor is going to be this, the overhead is going to be this, our tools cost this, here's our margin, and here's what it would cost you. Let's have an open conversation if that's how you're going to propose your compensation plan.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you said, because typically that whole, this is what my technology base and my tools cost. Uh, it's seldom discussed in fee negotiations. It's always about staffing and overhead, right?
Mhm. At that,
I
you at that, sometimes a client will say, "Oh, this is all I have," and that means you're going to put 1.2 people on the business for about 30% of the time, and that's not going to get you anywhere.
exactly, exactly. That's
So,
interesting. I mean, you learn something new every single day. I knew that technology and tools were a significant investment. I did not know it was 8%.
right.
That is wow. That is a lot.
So
Doesn't surprise me, but wow. Okay, so let's hit the final point that we have. And What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Procurement departments are very strict when they're buying raw materials from any supplier. There's standards that have to be maintained, and it's never just about price. So those practices have to be applied to the agency as well. An analogy: McDonald's or Burger King doesn't buy buns from just anyone who sells buns. There's certain levels of quality that must be respected. And within those levels of quality, there's price ranges. So just like that, when procurement negotiates a fee with an agency, there need to be certain levels of quality that need to be respected before you start discussing pricing. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen as often as it should. So we need to make sure that the disciplines, the principles that procurement applies to all of his purchases are also applied in the agency business.
much more so in the creative business too, and the media business. You're not buying a paperclip. You're buying intellectual thinking. You're buying time. You're buying quality people, people who understand and know how to use and develop the craft in a way that will potentially and ideally change your business. What is the value of an idea, Vivek? Uh, a strong business idea. Okay. And that's part of the conversation that needs to happen. I remember I used an example with procurement people when I got into a hard negotiation, and it was purely to illustrate the real difference of what an idea really is how valuable an idea is, and that is, if I were the owner of Nike, for example, the sports apparel maker, and the business is now valued at $100 billion, but I wanted to sell you the business, but I get to keep the Just Do It line, the swoosh, and a couple of other things. Would you still pay $100 billion for that business? Probably not. And that is the value of an idea, is the value of a positioning. It's the value of how you tell a story, and the value of how the consumer appreciates that brand and makes it part of their life. So, just a thought, another little anecdote that illustrates the fact that, you're not just buying anything at the lowest price, you're buying something that hopefully will deliver a significant piece of value to your business.
Well, just to build on that, why are you hiring an agency? Are you hiring it to help you grow your top line? Or are you hiring it to squeeze it and make a little savings on agency fees, which in the old days would have been a part of non-working media, which would be a small reduction in the 10-15% of your media budget that is not spent on actual
Right.
media. So what's the real point here? Are you buying them to help you grow, or are you buying them to squeeze, save 3 cents
Right.
in your marketing budget?
Right.
That's the big question that
Right.
needs to be addressed here. Yeah. So I think these points are pretty strong, and they provide some context and some detail to why the thought of getting great performance while paying your agency very little is a complete delusion. But unfortunately, it is a delusion that many people in the industry believe, and it's harming the industry as a whole. And the sooner people come out of the delusion, the better it'll be for everyone involved.
So let's go through the summary again. This is not, don't think about this as paying your agency as little as possible. Find a way to pay your agency properly and have the proper conversation. Why, so the 5 points that we went through right now is, let's go through that real quickly. One is talent and experience will command a premium, and you're going to need to pay for it. And that will help you have a better and a stronger team on your agency business. You want to pay your agency well because you don't want to settle on the first solution. You want to settle on the best solution. That's point number 2. And creativity is a form of art. It's a craft that takes time, that takes talent, and it takes, the right conversations to happen. And again, you don't want to come up with a first idea and buy the only one. You don't want to, third point, you don't want to put your agency under profit pressure from the very beginning. Profit pressure will deviate resources that are supposedly assigned to you to do other things, to work on other clients, to work on new business. You want to make sure your agency is earning properly so that they can have the right staff and time dedicated on your business and not worried about making their profit numbers. Number 4, technology, digital, licenses, training. These are all aspects of the agency business that are important today, that cost money, and are going to be part of the compensation model, should be part of the compensation model that you have with your agency if you properly want to pay your agency, because those are tools that are needed now to enhance the creative and the development of the business development process. Right? So these are things that are not often talked about, but are ongoing and part of the important composition of the compensation. And finally, point number 5, you want to pay your agency properly and apply the same principles that you use to whatever other purchases that your company is doing. Why? Because this is all about having the right quality at the right price and not necessarily the lowest price with any quality. So Vivek, I don't know if you want to add anything to those points, but
No,
it's actually common sense. And more than anything, we encourage at least the conversation and the debate, the openness. Agencies should not hide what their compensations levels are. They should open up to that. And ideally, not just get the lowest, not offer the lowest price and the advertiser buying at the lowest price, but buying the best quality at the best price. So that's my closing thought to this.
let me throw out a final analogy. You cannot buy a Lamborghini for the price of a Toyota Corolla. And so if you try to do that and then complain that your Corolla is not performing as a Lamborghini, it's your fault. You can't do it. So don't try to do it with an agency either.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for encouraging us to talk about these subjects, which I think are certainly valuable. Please like us, please share us, comment on our different social media platforms where we participate. We love the feedback. If you're interested in more about how we work and how we can help you, either advertiser or an agency, you can write to me and to Vivek. Go on our website, think-catalyst.com. We are a consultancy that ideally brings everyone together and makes us all work better together and hopefully deliver on better relationships and better results. Vivek, have a good one. See you
You
next
too.
week.
Take care, everyone.